Howdy guys. I wanted to bring you a little primer on the most recent build that I've been playing, and probably my favorite build of the league so far, at least as far as clearing is concerned. We'll see whether the single target holds up into the end game, but the map clear on this build is an absolute treat. This is a Spectral Helix poison build, which may be something that you're already familiar with if you've been following a bunch of my fellow content creators. I think Mathel gave it a shot, and likely some other folks that I'm forgetting. However, I've only ever seen this played in softcore, and I wanted to see whether or not I could lean it towards more of a hardcore bent. This character is built around Ward, but it's leveraging Ward in a different way than you might initially expect. I've gotten a lot of questions of, oh, so how is Ward feeling as a defensive mechanic? Is Ward solid enough for hardcore? Do you think Ward is a good defensive mechanic? And honestly, I can't really answer those questions with this build because Ward is used purely, well, not quite purely, but mostly as a damage mechanic in this build. We're using a pair of unique gloves, runic gauges called Night Grip, that give some chaos res, some ward, though not very much. And then the important stat, gain added chaos damage equal to 25% of your ward. And similar to Archmage, this is a flat added chaos. This is not a range of any sort. It's just a flat bundle of chaos damage, and it can be quite a bit. 25% of ward, assuming my ward flask is up, is about 500 flat chaos added right now, which, you know, if you compare that to the amount of fizz damage on my weapon, I've got 62 to 216 because I'm just using a wasp nest still. Even the flat chaos on the weapon, 80 to 120, that's what, an average of 100 chaos damage from the wasp nest proc, and then an average of, I can't do math, it's hard. No, 270 over 2 is like, what, 130 something physical? So that the amount of flat damage that my gloves are giving me eclipses the weapon by double. If I did my math correctly, which I may not have, but the point still stands. It's quite a lot of flat chaos. You know, we look at added chaos in my links as well. 153 to 229. That's not even half of what the gloves are giving me. Not by a long shot. Night Grip is pretty good as a damage mechanism. Now, that caveat is there because, as I said previously, folks have really only ever tried to make this build work in softcore, and that's because oftentimes you need to use a Skin of the Loyal, which doesn't have any defensive stats, in order to get 100% increased global defenses, which scales ward. But there is a vendor recipe. If you vendor 60 breach rings, you will get a Grasping Mail. And if you're very lucky, the odds are about 1 in 20, that Grasping Mail will roll with 100% increased global defenses. And then you have a rare chess piece that you can work with and craft into having actual defensive mods. This one is obviously not very good yet. It's global defenses, a little bit of int to solve int problems that the build has, which was kind of nice, I guess, and then a life roll. Not even a natural life roll, a crafted life roll. But this is still way, way, way better than a Skin of the Loyal would be, because this build is already strapped for life, given that Night Grip doesn't have any life, and neither does a Circle of Nostalgia, unless you luck into one with a life implicit like I did. But yes, this is literally doubling my ward. You see I have 1.1k if I take this off. I have less than 500, though. Now I can't put it back on, because unless I'm wearing it, I'm too stupid. There we go. Okay. So I have probably around 500, maybe 550 without the Grasping Mail. With it, it doubles, because it's the only source of percent ward on the build. Percent global defenses. Pretty easy math. As far as my other sources of ward, I've got some Runic Sabatons here that could be better, but are pretty nice in terms of the Chaos Res move speed and room for a life roll. And then a helmet that also could be better. You can push 400-ish ward, like 410, somewhere around there, while still maintaining a life roll, and therefore get some more damage. You know, I can probably reach 2.3 to 2.5k ward with my flask up once all is said and done, and I've min-maxed the gear. But the gear is certainly not in a state of being min-maxed yet. Anyways, to leverage all that, we are using Spectral Helix, which is just an incredibly fun skill that was just added this league that I'm really enjoying, and I'm playing as Pathfinder in order to have good uptime on the Iron Flask, the Ward Flask, which has percent increased ward during Flask effect as well. You can also use the Varatha Flask for this and get Debilitate and Cull into the build, which isn't bad. And also in order to scale Poison. Master Toxicist for Poison Prolif, fantastic, especially with Spectral Helix. It covers over the weakness of Spectral Helix, where sometimes the projectiles are too small to hit every mob in the pack, and you have to attack an additional time. Not a thing with Toxicist, and not a thing with Plague Bearer. Poison just works so nice with Helix. And then, you know, flasks are good. Move speed is good. chaos damage is good. It's pretty straightforward which ones you click past that. There is an argument you could make to go for Master Surgeon over Nature's Reprisal, but I'm greedy and I want the damage. Anyways, I'm going to go ahead and clear a map. I will also clear off while I clear the map. I'm going to turn off the mic and turn off the webcam, and you guys can watch the build in action. So I'll see you on the other side.
Come on now, don't go all day.
I'm not up to that just yet.
It'll be a battle then. Not on my watch.
Still sane, exile?
So there you go. That was just an example map clear. The character is only level 90 at the moment, though I guess we're close to 91 now. I am still on a 5 link, and I'm using a wasp nest that's decently rolled and cost me all of 5 chaos. As far as the more expensive pieces of gear for this build, though, getting the grasping mail with global defenses was very annoying. I had to do the vendor recipe 7 times, and I did not see it, and eventually I bought it from someone else, as thankfully someone eventually listed one. I bought it for, I think, only like 30-40C, so it wasn't that expensive to buy in the end, but it's hardcore trade, so it took a long time for one to even get listed in the first place, and it was a lot of effort to try and make it myself, which ultimately I didn't even succeed at. Probably the most expensive item on the character right now is this Circle of Nostalgia with Herald of Agony buff effect and chaos damage while affected by Herald of Agony. This could pretty easily be a rare ring with Despair on hit or something like that, and you'd be just fine. It would also be a great damage source, as currently I'm self-casting Despair because I don't have a Despair on hit ring or a Despair on hit glove corruption. As far as the core items, as I mentioned already, the Grasping Mail is rather annoying to get, but you can make do with a Skin of the Loyal in the meanwhile. Night Grip costs about 3 Chaos Orbs. Wasp's Nest for a decent roll is about 5 Chaos Orbs, and the ward items took me a couple dozen essences to make each. This one took like, I think, 6 or 7 Zeal essences to make, and this one took, I don't even remember, I think it was the Lightning Res essence, Wrath? I think it was like 8 Wrath essences, because I really needed Lightning Res out of this slot. Neither of these are very good yet. I can easily get another 50 plus ward out of each of these gear slots and push my damage further that way. The amulet doesn't have any Shaper mods, it just happens to be Shaper influenced. There's no reason for that, it's just a solid life and res amulet. Admittedly quite a solid life and res amulet, but nothing too special going on here. The shield is actually pretty nice. There's some junk stats between stun and block recovery and thorns, but it does have life. It has 2 min endurance charges, which is a lot of our Fizmit right now, and some room for fire and chaos res, as well as a bit of move speed on that implicit, and some decent, though not great, evasion. This ring is, again, pretty basic life and res. I don't care about the mana nor the reduced mana cost of skills, so this really is just a big old bundle of life and res for me right now. Both the ring and the amulet can be a lot better. We could even go for a talisman with global defenses, and that's something we eventually want to achieve, though I do think I need this strength right now, so I'll have to find that maybe on the belt slot. Which the last piece of gear I didn't look at, actually. It's life and res with the crafted flask mod. Yeah, nothing too crazy as far as the gear is concerned, aside from the Circle of Nostalgia and the Grasping Mail. Those are the harder things to get that I've currently got. Yeah, for flasks, we've got a Quicksilver, a Dodge Flask, a Life Flask, Coralitos, though I may swap this for a Taste of Hate as I get more damage from other sources. I do need some more Fizmit for sure. You may have noticed I took a chunk or 2 in that map. I'm certainly capable of clearing early red content right now, but I think if I took the character as it currently stands into T16s, I would be dead within a couple dozen maps. I can probably clear them deathless relatively consistently, but I think I would eventually get one-tapped by something with crit. So yeah, I'm going to need maybe a Taste of Hate or to improve the chest piece or get another min endurance on the amulet or the ring, something like that, probably a combination of all 3. But I do think I can get there defensively, we're just not quite there yet. Gear's a little bit scuffed, but character is a lot of fun, and I may end up pushing this one all the way to 100. I like it that much. I'm only level 90 and I already feel like I want to do that, so we'll see how it comes together. Tune into the stream if you want to catch more of this character. I'm going to be playing a lot of it for the next few days. And be sure to subscribe here on YouTube and follow me on Twitter and all that good social media stuff. Thanks for watching.